Mullins.
I got vision. Means back to the business. Means back to the trenches. You ain't even got a mention. I got vision. I got vision. I do. Means back to the business. Means back to the trenches. You ain't even got a mention. I got vision. I got vision. I got vision. What? I got vision. Yeah.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Friday Night Live, the Sunday special. This will be the final time we are live on Sunday, coming to you from the Self-Made Sound Studios. I am joined once again by JT, Uncle Juice, Young Bakes, and Hybrid Promotions own Spencer Scholl will be joining us here shortly. I would like to ask everyone how they're doing, but I think while we get into that, we should jump right into this top topic here. Coming in fresh off the press, Uconn taking down Duke. Everyone, tell me how you're doing right before you say what you got to say.
I guess I'll start.
Yeah, go ahead.
Doing well. I had a good day, spending a lot of time with the family and just watching basketball. I was on the way home. I watched the first half of this game in my cousin's house and came home, turned it on, and with seconds left on the clock, my man just shoots a shot from the parking lot. I call it a t-shirt cannon shot. My man just shot it from the heavens, got it up, and it was 0.3 of a second. They put another fourth of a second on the clock, but at that point, it was a wrap. Like they should have just put it at zeros as soon as he hit the shot, because the game was good as over. Wonderful shot. What March Madness is all about. It was nice and refreshing after watching that stinker that Tennessee had just put up. So, I mean, this is exactly what March Madness is all about, buzzer beaters and upsets. But is it really an upset? Because UConn, they cook. Like, that's what the University of UConn does. So, an upset, but not really, just a really exciting game, to tune down to the Final Four.
JT?
Yeah, probably one of the most surprising moments of the season. Back when we were kind of discussing the seeding and who was going to be the number one seed, it was kind of clear that Michigan, Arizona, and Duke had kind of separated themselves. And as of halftime of that Duke UConn game, it was kind of looking like it was going to play out kind of like we thought it would with the 3-1 seeds, and then Illinois kind of sneaking in there. So yeah, really shocking. Didn't think. Obviously UConn's one of the best brands in college basketball right now. Falling off a little bit with sending some of their guys to the NBA, but it seems like that Hurley is really able to turn things up in March. And man, that's just one of the. I guess I'm not sure how much credit I can really even give UConn, because I just feel like Duke choked it away. I think that Duke had every opportunity to. I mean, there was literally 10 seconds left in the game that they could have just dribbled it around in the backcourt. They didn't need to get the ball past the timeline. And that's kind of what that graphic alludes to, is it really just comes down to Duke messing it up. That Caden Boozer just made an awful pass trying to get it up court. I thought that I think Shire had a timeout in his pocket. He said that in his post-game press conference he was about to call it, I think is what he said. But obviously he didn't call that soon enough, and I think he should have. But yeah, it's pretty crazy. Yeah, like I said, that game is going to haunt those kids for a really long time, and you feel bad for them on that, but that's just how things go. Vic, what do you think?
Well, as far as my day's going, it's pretty good. I'm just a little tired. I think I'm getting too old. Yeah, the last second shot was crazy. Mullins, like Uncle Juice said, he pulled it from the parking lot. T-shirt cannon shot, nothing but net in my eyes.
Yeah.
It seemed like UConn just really wanted it more for whatever reason. I know the first half doesn't necessarily show that, but coming back and just fighting their way back into the game, and it just seemed like UConn wanted it more than Duke. I know Duke has a lot of top recruits, really, really good coach. As you see this graphic, they're 134-1 when they're leading by 15 and a half. There should be no way UConn should have won this game. Especially if you're a Duke fan, or even the coach. Yeah, that's crazy. Yes, this is a very disturbing graphic. But yeah, UConn wanted it more. UConn has been up and down over the last years, winning national championships, disappearing. It's just really good to see them just kind of stay in the fight and really solidify themselves as a title contender.
So I didn't really get to watch much of the first half or most of the second half. I think when I turned it on, there was about 4 minutes to go. And if you would have told me at some point UConn was down by 19, I would not have believed you. Just kind of based on the way they were playing with that energy late in the game. And it obviously took a miracle shot by Mullins, like you said, from the parking lot. But just a really horrible pass from Boozer there. Coming up the court, you really didn't even need to pass the ball in that situation. You could have just held on to it. So I don't
even know. Tried to put the ball up the court, just dribble it out. Like you had two dudes in front of you, and you trying to throw it underneath the basket. You and your brother were playing so good the entire game, and then that little mental hiccup just ruined everything in the last 20 seconds of the game.
Well, the thing is there wasn't even 10 seconds left on the clock, so they could have just hung out in the backcourt and there would have been no violation. So I don't know what you're thinking in that moment, trying to, move the ball up court when you don't even have to cross the half court line. So it's unfortunate for Duke that it comes down to a situation like that, especially as good as that team was all year. Obviously a couple of those guys will not be back because they're going to go pro. So to see him kind of fall short with the expectations they had on him, me as a Duke fan, this would be a kind of loss of a season, where many other fan bases would take it as a success. And we can kind of get into that here a little bit later. But it was an incredible shot. It was a great moment. It was even better that it was the last game of the Elite Eight to kind of propel us into next weekend. That's about all I have on that to at least start us out here. If anybody else has anything they want to add on to that.
Man, as a fan of Duke basketball, it just seems like we kind of lost our juice a whole game before this. I remember I was watching the Siena game, and at a certain point, I started cheering for the other team, and I'm not a fan of their team. It was just no timeouts, poor use of timeouts, poor spacing. It was a lot of mental hiccups. And I've never watched a tournament where I screamed for coaches to use timeouts so much.
Yep.
Like your team will just start getting cooked, and the other team is piling up points. It's like, does he not have timeouts? No, they have all the timeouts. Then call one of them. Stop the momentum.
Yeah, that's one thing I will never condone is coaches taking timeouts to the locker room with them at the end of a game, especially if you lose by 2 or 3. There maybe could have been an adjustment or a play you could have called there you still might have lost by 2 or 3, but at least, you're giving yourself a chance to kind of set something up and at least make a play to go out and win the game at least.
Yeah, and usually I've always been of that opinion that you can't be taking timeouts home with you. But one thing to remember this season, there's a little bit of a vibe change, and that's with the challenge system. Is that coaches are clearly have been less crazy about blowing all their timeouts before the end of the game, because you never know when that moment's going to come up where you need to challenge the play. Because of course, not only do you need to have challenges in the bank, you also need to have at least one timeout and basically work as collateral against that challenge. So
yeah, so
that's
Weber rule.
Yeah, so that's where obviously, in this case, it was so late in the game that I think it's inexcusable that Shire didn't call the timeout. And I don't think this game was indicative on John Shire's coaching as a whole. I still think he's done a
No,
pretty good
absolutely
job.
not.
If you look at we've seen a lot of very historic coaches kind of pass things off to their successors recently. You're looking at Syracuse, UNC, Duke, and really Duke's the only one that's worked out so far. So I know people are pretty disappointed in Shire's performance today, and I guess I can't blame them. But I don't think it's indicative of his coaching skill as a whole. But I just wanted to point out that's one thing to always consider is that coaches do need to hold on to those timeouts in case they need to challenge. But in this case, Shire should have challenged the play. There was 5 seconds, or should have called a timeout. There was 5 seconds left in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. Bakes.
100% agreed. As far as like mental toughness, I think Duke is mentally tough. I think that was just a terrible pass, terrible decision. It's not the testament of the young man's work. Yeah, I've had a tremendous season, rebounding, scoring the ball, pretty much leading this team to where they ended up, getting that exit. But I don't know. I like Duke. I like what they're doing. They're recruiting well. They're getting people ready for the draft. You can't ask for anything more than that.
Yeah, 100%. 100% agree with you there. Well, Bakes, you want to go ahead and get some sponsors and get some promotions out of the way here real quick before we kind of move on to the Final Four here?
Yeah, no problem. As always, our show is presented and brought to you by Hybrid Promotions, OTT Records, and Self-Made the Label Music. You can check out our website at selfmadeTheLabelHybrid.com for all your merch needs. You can follow us where we have our next show. We're gonna be having giveaways here very soon. We got some new merch popping up daily. And I just want to say thank you for all the listeners and everyone watching our show. Make sure you comment, make sure you like and subscribe for more content. Thank you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I do want to bring up once again, we got the Glizzy Fest coming up here, April 17th through the 19th here at the Reverb Lounge down in the Benson area.
Yes, sir.
It's going to be a huge event. Tons of artists from all throughout the city. Shout out to Justin Strawstone and Nice Enough for putting this on for the city and kind of giving everyone a platform to be able to participate in something like this. I believe tickets are they $15 per day?
Yeah, $15 a day.
Yep.
And
then
they also got t-shirts going right now, $25 each. Just hit up Justin Strawstone on any of his pages if you were interested in a t-shirt or any merch for those guys as well.
Yep. And then once again, I encourage you, if you want to go to all three of these dates, get your pass for all 3 days. Save yourself a little bit of money. Go have yourself a good time. But once again, that is April 17th through the 19th. We will all be there performing. Can't wait to see everyone come out and make sure you go and support your local music.
Yes, sir.
So with that being said, we will go ahead and move into the official Final Four here. Kind of an interesting layout between both sides of the bracket here. On the right side, obviously, you see the two teams you kind of expected to be there between Arizona and Michigan. And then on the left side, maybe one team, a decent amount of people seen being in that position, but Illinois kind of sneaking in on the back burner there with Houston and Florida going down along the way. Bakes, I'm just curious to see what your initial thoughts are about the Final Four between Uconn, Illinois, Arizona, and Michigan.
I think, all these teams worked their tail off to get to this point. Illinois has excellent guard play. Very, 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 very crafty guards. Uconn, they got shooters. They got the gritty guys. Arizona is just star-studded with talent. Michigan also star-studded with talent. I think it's going to be a great Final Four. I'm just gonna go ahead and give you my picks right now. I'm going with UConn and Arizona, and I got Arizona beating UConn.
Yep. Juice.
Also agree. I got UConn and Arizona in the finals. Congratulations to all four of the teams. Illinois has played out of this world, compared to what a lot of people thought they would do in the tournament. This Michigan, Arizona, like they could have had that game back in December and it would have been a big game. You could put this game at any point in the
Yeah.
season, and it's a top game of the season. Star-studded, all kind of athletes. A lot of future NBA picks is going to be in that game. The Illinois game will be interesting. I think UConn will pull it out, but I don't think Illinois will just go out there and lay down for them. But eventually, I got Arizona winning it all. Michigan's got a really tough team. I watched them put a whooping on Tennessee earlier, but I think
Man.
at the day, like Arizona is this is what Arizona does. I have no idea how they get these athletes to come out to the desert and hoop, but they seem to pack them into the stadium every year and they roll out the balls and do their thing. So I gotta go with Old Faithful out of the four, but I think we got a very interesting and entertaining Final Four ahead of us.
Yeah, absolutely. JT, I just kind of want to get your input here real quick on the Illinois path to getting to the Final Four. And I know we shared that tweet together earlier about kind of finding the right path. I'm just curious as to your take on just, obviously it's impressive to get to this point, to get 2 wins away from a national championship, but just kind of the luck of the draw, more or less, that, really kind of showed itself this year for Illinois.
Yeah, and it goes back to a conversation, if you recall, that we actually had in regards to Iowa State's seeding, where we get so worked up about if you're going to be a 1 seed or if Iowa State's going to drop to a 3 seed or something like that. But really, kind of what we always came back to was as long as you get that top 4 seed, you're good. Because what does a top 4 seed mean? It means that you don't have to play a better team than you until you get to the Sweet 16. And so the tweet that I shared with you basically just says the goal in college basketball, it's not really a spoken thing, but get a top 4 seed year after year, year after year, if you can, and you just kind of have to wait for the chips to fall your way. Obviously, Illinois, on paper, it looks like a pretty kind of an easier path. I think it's harder than it looked. Obviously, they
Yes.
beat a Houston team in Houston, really impressive.
Yep.
You had to beat probably the hottest team in college basketball in the Iowa Hawkeyes, who knocked off the number 1 seed Florida Gators. So I think they're probably going to run out of steam, and I think they're probably going to lose pretty handedly to UConn. I do think they're an impressive team. That for those that don't know, Peja Stojakovic's kid is on that team and is a really good player. I think UConn's probably gonna beat them pretty easily, but we'll see. Ultimately, when it comes down to this Final Four, kind of as a whole, and I think this is something that we tip people off to during our tournament breakdown show on Selection Sunday, is that obviously it's looking like that the national championship game is going to happen on April 4th. That Arizona Michigan game, basically. I don't see. I think
Absolutely.
Arizona versus Michigan is a toss-up, but just for whatever, I picked Michigan. I do think that Arizona is a better tested team. You look at all the teams that they had to beat coming up, through the conference tournament and the conference season. I think Arizona is a more tested. I just kind of picked Michigan as a coin flip, but either way, whichever team comes out of that Final Four, I think is going to beat UConn relatively easily. I'm sure, like we talked about, UConn will put up a fight, but it's kind of one of those things where the Final Four games will probably be more interesting than the national championship game. It's just kind of one of those lopsided years where it's clear that the national champion is probably going to come out of Arizona or Michigan. But it's March. I guess technically it'll be April. Things can happen, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I agree with all you guys. I think that Arizona Michigan game is going to be probably is going to decide who wins it all. UConn and Illinois have both kind of had to have some luck fall their way to get to this point, and Arizona and Michigan have just kind of seemed to steamroll everyone they've played. I think Michigan scored over 90 points in all 4 of their tournament games to this point. They made Tennessee look like a JV team out there at certain points today. We'll kind of get into that Tennessee team here in a little bit once we start our season recaps here in a moment. But yeah, Michigan just clearly looked like that they were just leagues ahead of Tennessee today. I would have hate to have seen Iowa State trot out there without Joshua Jefferson and play this team and see what that final score would have looked like. I know I messaged my dad and said, man, a Sweet 16 loss isn't looking so bad anymore, because I think losing by 50 in the Elite Eight would have been twice as bad as, trotting out your best effort in the Sweet 16. But yeah, as far as Arizona goes, I think they're probably the most battle-tested team. Michigan is probably the hottest of this group. Illinois and UConn are probably the luckiest of the bunch. UConn, especially with that miracle shot there that we just got done talking about against Duke. And I think if Duke kind of somehow sneaks that game out against Illinois, I think you're still going to get a good game between those two teams. But I think Duke easily probably wins that game against Illinois. And then you're looking at, maybe potentially 2 national championship games back to back between Arizona and Michigan, and then Duke and whoever were to win that game. But, like Kanye said, I guess we'll never know.
It was a crazy day for college basketball. Tennessee, if I was a Tennessee fan, I would be so embarrassed right now. I just kept pointing at the score, talking to my nephews, going, "Are they ever gonna break 60 points?" Michigan could have put up 100 easily on them if they wanted to today.
Charlie May hit a 3-pointer. That's how bad it got.
It was their 3-point shooting was atrocious today, man. At a certain point in the second half, I was like, "There's a lid on the bucket." I was like, they can't get in the basket. They might as well just start watching from the stands like everybody else. It got uglier than Patrick Ewing out there, bro.
That's pretty bad.
Well, to be fair, they were never really a great 3-point shooting team. JT, I don't know if you want to kind of use that as a transition. I don't know who you guys want to talk about first. If you guys want to talk about the Huskers or the Cyclones, it depends. I guess I'll leave it up to you guys. Whoever wants to go first here.
Yeah, I guess since we don't have a graphic, I think we'll just kind of just sneak in Iowa real quick. It's been a tumultuous week or so for people who dislike the Iowa Hawkeyes, including myself.
Yes,
I was very, very grateful to see that run come to a miraculous end there. And it's just I'm trying not to sound like a bitter Iowa State fan, because if you guys remember, this is something that I talked about when we were talking about Nebraska's tournament goals and things like that. It just kind of shows you how, and Josh, we talked about this, how in the moment the difference between a Sweet 16 and an Elite 8 is very fleeting. It's just a difference of one day of happiness when you look at Cyclone fan versus Hawkeye fans. But obviously flags fly forever, banners hang forever. It looks better in the long term to get an Elite 8. But it's one of those things where I know I'll get into Iowa really quickly. It's one of those things where I know Iowa fans were very excited about this run, and they're very excited about what's to come. But Ben McCollum has a lot of very significant challenges roster building wise. Kind of something that we'll talk about here is that between all three of the teams that we're going to talk about tonight, very significant point guard head coach relationships coming to an end. Both Iowa, Nebraska, and Iowa State are kind of losing very key point guards. And Ben McCollum's got to replace Bennett Sturts. Throughout Ben McCollum's rise in the coaching ranks, there has always been this kind of beneath the surface thought of how much has Bennett Sturts carried Ben McCollum through his rise from Northwest Missouri State to Drake to Iowa. And obviously McCollum has coached up a lot of really good point guards in D2. He's put guys in the NBA from D2. But he's got to do it at the highest level, and he's got to sustain those guys. So I know Hawkeye fans are happy and they're excited about kind of the future. But you're looking at, I kind of posted about it on Twitter. It's kind of a Tom Brady, Bill Belichick like split here, where you're going to see who was the real kind of strength in this relationship. Is Ben McCollum as good of a coach as people say he is at the D1 level, at the Power 5 level, or was Bennett Sturts such a good player that he kind of carried Ben McCollum all the way to the top? So I still think Ben McCollum's a really good coach. Obviously, I reap the benefits of that, but it's just to be seen if he's as elite of a coach at the Big Ten level as this season showed. So again, not trying to sound like a salty, bitter Iowa State fan. I think it's important that it's going to be very interesting to see where Ben McCollum goes for his point guard, if he's going to be able to court that next guy for next season. So that's what I have on the Hawkeyes. I don't know if anybody has any thoughts on that, because it's very similar storylines between Nebraska and Iowa State.
Right.
All three coaches have to replace a very good point guard, and we get to see what these coaches are really made of.
Yeah, I think McCollum kind of really showed his true coaching prowess with the way Fulgaris kind of came around there late in the tournament, and the confidence that some of those guys seem to have between not only Fulgaris but Koch as well. Just kind of the way those guys played, even when Sturts wasn't maybe necessarily at his best. They did a really good job of picking up the rest of the team, kind of piecing together what they had. So I don't know if you can necessarily attribute that to good coaching or just guys getting guys getting hot at the right time, or maybe just some luck. You could throw all that up into factors, and then once again, it kind of comes back to your draw. Granted, they beat a 1 seed in Florida, but how often do you beat a team as good as Florida and then kind of fall backwards into a matchup with a team that you've already seen twice this year that you split the season series with? Oh, by the way, they also happen to be a rival of your own team, so they were kind of benefactors of the situation they found themselves in. Granted, it was like highly unlikely. If you would have told me on Selection Sunday that the Iowa Hawkeyes would be playing the Nebraska Cornhuskers for a Sweet 16 game to go to the Elite Eight, I would have said, yeah, okay, whatever. But, they credit to them. They got it done, and they made it happen. Great year for Ben McCollum in year one. It will be interesting to see how they reload and kind of what he does. I know they kind of lose a lot of their upper production this year. But other than that, I do want to remind everyone that Iowa State beat them 66-62 this year. So before anyone gets too crazy about talking about who had the better year, who's the better team, remember, we played head to head. So don't ever forget that.
And one of the weird things about that Illini games that you talked about, how, really Fulgaris was kind of the X factor for this team down the stretch. Fulgaris only played 9 minutes against Illinois. So I don't exactly – it's one of those things where I saw this all the time when Ben was at Drake, where kind of Ben takes each game kind of game by game, plays it out, see who his rotation is going to be, and kind of sticks with that. So I don't know. I didn't get a chance to listen much to the post game press conference. I don't know if McCollum answered why Fulgaris got so few minutes. He was literally of the guys that played, he played the least. So it's kind of crazy the dichotomy there between what Fulgaris was able to do in the games prior to basically being a non-factor in the game against Illinois. And I know that's something that a lot of Iowa fans were wondering, or kind of if you played him a little bit more, would you have won, or was McCollum not playing him because he clearly was a detriment? So that's kind of interesting, where, you know, Fulgaris is one of the guys that's probably going to be back next year. You're just going to need to see some consistency out of these guys. And, you know, Bennett Sturts isn't always going to be there to bail you out.
Yeah, as much as I dislike the Hawkeyes at whatever sport that they put out on the field or court or the pool or the gymnasium, can't stand those guys. But you got to give them credit for their run. They obviously tightened up Nebraska. They had a fast start on us. We didn't play very well down the stretch. I believe my team ran out of fouls. It was just a horrible showing for us to get to the Sweet 16, and all we had to do is beat Iowa to get to the Elite Eight. I mean, that was a bummer. But all credit to those guys. And back to the coaching, I think he's a good coach, man. He's been showing that he could win on multiple levels for multiple
Everywhere.
different collegiate teams. So, you know, it's the changing of the guard. You know, just like JT said, it's put up or shut up. Who's going to be your next league guard? Is he going to be able to carry you, or is your coaching going to be so good it won't even matter? So that'll be interesting to see next season. But I hope they don't recruit well. Um, that's just kind of the bottom line. I just got to keep it thorough. 55th Street. Uncle Juice, what you got?
Uh, First of all, let me start with Iowa and Iowa State. They both had very excellent seasons. I think at the beginning of the season, I don't think anybody, Iowa State, Nebraska fan, I don't think anybody's seen this season playing out the way it did. Uh, Fulgaris was just a monster. The end of that Nebraska game, it was like watching Nebraska football game, like when we had like Callahan. It was just like whatever could go wrong would go wrong. How do you only have four defenders on the court, man? Like
Yeah.
there's only four people on the court. My man runs straight down the field or straight down the court like he's streaking, comes, gets the dunk. Next thing you know, they're just spilling points all over the court. With that being said, I definitely think he should have got more play in the Illinois game. He was cooking people the whole tournament. To me, he was Iowa's best player, and you have to have your best player on the court to give yourself a chance to win. As far as Iowa State is concerned, them boys should never hold their head down in the season. They went out there, they played like champions. And as far as my Huskers, I'm just proud of the fan base, man. Like we went down there, you know, we damn near made it a home game down there in Houston. We had the spring game on Saturday. We still, you know, had a mostly full stadium for that, even though half the people was still in Houston. So we got the curse off our back. You know, as a 49er, and it always feels good to get that monkey off your back and, you know, get in the saddle with things. But those boys came out there, they weren't worried about no curse or what the past was. I think with NIL and the way that, you know, things go in sports right now, I think we as the media kind of put more involved in that than the actual players do. They just go out there and play. You know, them
Yeah.
boys want to have a good time. They out there getting paid to do it. So everybody's just out there trying to ball. All three teams, you know, you got a coach point guard relationship that's going to be severed at the end of this season. But you got three really good coaches with really good minds for the game. And I believe either based on the NIL or just through regular recruiting, they'll get a guard to come in and rectify certain inequities. With guards that are so tethered to the coach, it might not be just one guy off the rip. It might be a plethora of people until you get it figured out, or you might just start off with a dude who got the juice off the rip. So don't hang your head down on the season. Iowa, especially, like Iowa, you guys were so close to making it to the Final Four. Me also, like Bakes, I pray for Iowa's downfall. I'm not a fan of anything that has to
That
deal
makes
with.
four of us.
Yeah,
That's all around.
That's all four of us.
And I don't
You
even
know,
mean to be an Iowa basher. It's just I can't stand them.
I
No,
do.
they're fans. They're fans.
Their
Some of their
athletic
fans are
department is annoying.
insufferable. No,
But
some of their fans are
congratulations
pretty
on all
insufferable.
their success. But fuck all that at the
well,
same time.
Shout
I
out to
go
all
to
my aunts and uncles that are all Iowa fans, by the way. I hope you're listening to this.
I go to war with them about football all the time. And like, oh yeah, Iowa's gonna be better than Nebraska, and I'm like, congratulations on your 9 wins and not going to anything relevant. Like, it's cool to win. It makes more sense when you win something meaningful. So, but with that being said, the Midwest, we had the sports world on fire this year, and I hope we just continue to do that. The Big Ten is showing everybody exactly who we are, and that's big. We do it big. We got bigger players. We trying to just do big things. So hopefully this success spills over in the next season. I wanted Nebraska to go to Elite Eight. They got to Sweet 16, so they fulfilled all the needs that Uncle Juice had for them. I got my hat on for them today because we gonna ride with them boys. And I watched the spring game, and we got a new quarterback. He's spinning and doing his thing. So it's looking like Nebraska athletics is on the come up right now, and that's always a beautiful thing.
Yeah, Juice, I'm glad you kind of brought that up there, kind of summing everything up. We're gonna kind of hit our athletic recap here for the season for all of our teams here real quick. We can roll through basketball, volleyball, wrestling, football, whatever you want to here, but I kind of want to start with Nebraska and kind of go over your guys' season. Obviously you won 2 tournament games. Never winning a tournament game before this year, making the Sweet 16 in itself is quite the accomplishment. The football team was riding really high until Rail went down with that leg injury, but still finished strong. I know the volleyball team fell a little short, but what's Juice? What's your overall kind of viewpoint on the Nebraska athletic season as a whole? Now that we've kind of finished up everything besides baseball.
Think we went out there and we had to prove a lot of things. Where Alberts left, a lot of people were upset by that. A lot of people thought, he had done so much for the athletic program, and the next guy, like, what's he gonna do? And that's just the nature of the beast. Next man steps up in whatever regard of life that it is. Um, our volleyball team, them girls play really hard. We just got a professional volleyball team here, so that's giving
Yep.
them motivation to want to
Shout
get
out
to
to the
the next.
Supernovas.
Supernovas, definitely shout out. As far as the baseball, we always gonna have some guys who can come out here and swing that bat, so they're gonna be fine. I watched the spring game on Saturday. Quarterback room has changed. There's no more of this standing statue quarterback. Our quarterbacks can move. I watched TJ do a spin move and run for like 14 yards. It was immaculate. I watched the freshman running back run for 93-yard run. So I think we had to build a culture here. We got Matt Rule, we got Hoiberg, we got the coaches that we need to cultivate the talent that we're trying to get to be here. We want players who want to be here. If you don't want to be here, you can leave because we only want people here just trying to work hard. We got the Omaha States, we got the strength and conditioning coach. We trying to get up there and get to do some big boy things. We tired of Ohio State and Michigan and teams like that just running the division. And last year with Indiana coming out of nowhere and winning the national, the way that the finals are looking this year in the Final Four, like, you got a lot of teams that's just out here believing in themselves and just trying to do it against all odds. So I hope we have a whole athletic program that just continues with that mentality moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Biggs, I want to get your same same kind of opinion on the season, but I also I guess I want to push it back to Juice as well. In this recap, I kind of want to hear your thoughts on the 4 men on the court kind of situation that behooved them at the end of that game, and kind of your both your guys' thoughts on that as well.
Go ahead, Juice.
Well, as far as the 4 men on the court, like Hoiberg is an NBA coach. You got to have 5 defenders on the court. As soon as I seen it, I was like, how is that dude running down the court just with nobody near him? And then when I went back and watched the replay and counted, only seeing 4 men on the court, I'm like, that's a mental mistake by the coach. And you can't have when you're in a position where you've never been. If you go to Mount Everest and you get to the top, you can't just take off your oxygen mask and do a 2-step. There's a reason why you had to in the first place. You have to, especially as the person who's in charge. If your Sherpa tell you to take it off, but don't just take it off to do it. Hoiberg, you were a leader of men, and you have led NBA teams to playoff wins. There's no reason for you to only have 4 men on the court. That's a mental mistake that cannot be made by the players or the coach. At some
Yeah,
point, a player came up to him, Coach, we only got 4 dudes set up,
right.
man. We'll call a timeout. Do something.
Biggs.
Yeah, I think 4 players on the court was kind of embarrassing, especially with everything we did to get to the spot we were in. To go out like that and to be like the reason like the game like we collapsed. Uh, it's kind of embarrassing. I'm not even gonna lie. Um, I'm not a head coach of a collegiate program, so I can't go too hard. I got nothing but love and respect for our head coach. It's just the way it all unfolded was just it was just sad, man. Uh, we collapsed in the game. It's like they took our mojo away by Iowa continuing to make shots, and I feel like Nebraska's lack of a true athlete out there, somebody who can jump really high to get rebounds, or even just a showstopper on the fast breaks. I truly feel like that's what we were really missing this whole season to make it to the Elite Eight is a true athlete, someone who could jump out the gym, a Vince Carter type, a Clyde Drexler type, someone that has showmanship, someone that has pride to just go out there and fly. Uh, we were a very, very tough team. It just sucks to just have that collapse towards the end of that game against Iowa. But amazing season. We did a lot of great things. I'm very, very proud of our guys. Speaking of like tournaments and winning, yeah, we did win an NIT back in the day. So let's not do us too dirty there, Slim. Tyron Lue and the boys.
I guess, and I had one question for you, Nebraska guys, kind of staying along the thread of the point guard situation.
Yeah.
Just because I don't know enough about Nebraska and kind of what their younger guys look like. Obviously you talk about Ben McCollum's losing Bennett Sturts, for Fred Hoiberg's losing his son, Sam Hoiberg. So would you expect, is there someone in the program right now that you would expect to take the keys to that offense? Or do you think that's going to need to be a priority for Fred Hoiberg when it comes to the transfer portal?
Well, to be honest, we're recruiting a shooting guard and a forward right now, pretty heavily. So um, I haven't heard a lot of point guard talk. I don't even think our backup point guard even gets ticks. So it was just really those core guys that mainly got some playing time. The backup power forward didn't even get like a huge role. I think he got in early in games, in early part of the season, but when it got down to the grittiness, uh, we just ran with the same guys. The same rotation. Now I think it's going to come down to whatever point guard we have next season to facilitate the ball, but I think it's just we're going to be a shooting team for the most part. That's why I'm hoping for a freakish athlete to kind of change the pace of things.
Yeah, Sam Hoiberg, to your point, averaged 32 minutes a game. So that doesn't leave a lot of time for anyone else to get any significant ball time out there on the court. So it will be interesting to see what they do. Do you think they're going to go after maybe a big portal name? I know it's early in the portal hunting season, but do you think that there's a guy that they're kind of eyeing in on here in the Midwest? I know that the D2 schools around here are kind of fantasy factories for Iowa, Iowa State, and Nebraska here the last 3 or 4 years with, kind of who they want to pick and choose, who they're going to pull from.
Yeah.
I think
Go ahead.
plan.
Sorry, Juice.
I think the coach has a plan as far as what to do with point guard, but when you have a symbiotic relationship like Hoiberg had with his son, there's gonna be some growing pains on getting over that. So
Yeah.
with the focus on looking at a shooting guard and a small forward, I think we're gonna focus on more shooting and more athleticism. I'm sure that they probably have somebody in mind that they want to bring in at the point guard position. And I'm sure Hoiberg has got somebody that he, been chatting up or at least like talking to in practice, kind of taking his ear for the next generation type situation. Like I can't see them not having anybody on the roster right now, not at least partially willing to take those reins. But with the NIL and the way that college sports goes, I'm pretty sure that they got a plug and play guy, and maybe it is somebody Division 2. I just hope that they're a little bit taller and a good ball handler and a good facilitator, because I think we're a very good shooting team this year, and I think that Hoiberg wants to just add on to that, get more great shooters and continue to play tight defense.
Would you guys take Omaha Blue if you were open to a transfer to Nebraska?
To be honest with you, uh, that would be a very interesting thing. I know the dude is supremely talented. I don't know if he could run plays. That's just my biggest thing. I think that's been his biggest hurdle over his career is literally being able to know the playbook and go out there and run. From what I hear, his high school playbook was give me the ball. That doesn't work in
Yeah.
college basketball unless
Yep.
you're AJ DeBanta.
Yep.
Let's just keep it real.
I think he'd be the perfect person to, try that experiment with, because we got an NBA caliber coach. So if you can't come here and get it done here, then maybe G League is best for you. Like, we can't have Kwame Browns out here with 3 plays in the playbook in high school and think you about to run a college basketball offense.
That would be a fair comparison. Somebody who was ballyhooed, highly sought after, to just come out there and just not be a part of anything. That's what I've seen from that young man. So it's kind of really hard to answer that question, Slim. I wish it really did work out at Iowa State. I know you were really, really huge on it. You were very, very excited. And then we went to games, and he was just sitting on the bench, chewing his
Yep.
fingernails.
He can never
And-
crack that lineup. But I mean,
Yeah.
you see why now he transferred to Wake Forest, and he's still kind of obviously he's getting some more floor time, but he's still just kind of struggling to be a part of any sort of functional offense. And he clearly doesn't have the same athleticism as DeBanza does, because if he did, then it would be just give me the ball and get out of the damn way.
Yeah.
Well, Asa is just a different breed of cat, man. Like, it's not a lot of people in the entire nation who got the athleticism that dude got, man. There's a reason people is like, oh, who's going to be the #1 pick? And they immediately pick his name out of the plethora of talent that's going to be in the NBA draft this year.
Yeah. He was
Yeah.
getting double teamed and still putting up points like he
He's
was
a
just
human
out there by himself. Like it was just a shoot around for him all season long.
That boy
But
good.
back to Hoiberg. No one puts the team together better than him on limited resources.
Yep,
Like
we've
he
seen
takes
it.
guys who are not highly ranked guys, or who have not got crazy push, and he puts it together. And he's shown that year after year, especially since leaving Iowa State, leaving the Bulls. Like he most definitely shown in college basketball he can put a team together. He's like MacGyver. You know what I'm saying? He got a shoestring and a battery, and next thing you know it, this dude is driving out in the tank. I can't believe it.
He did the same thing in the NBA, though. Like, he was the dude who got to play an island of misfit toys, and all of a sudden, he had Derrick Rose working. He had people cooking that you thought were cooked. So I mean, I think that's why he translates a lot better into college basketball. Like he can get in the guys' heads, younger before they start making money and focus in on their talents.
Yeah, JT Bakes and Juice make a really good point. We kind of talked about it, 3 or 4 weeks ago about how he was kind of the original orchestrator of the transfer portal and kind of building a team off of guys that are kind of misfit toys, more or less. I know we all know what he did with Royce White, who basically was like a broken project. And for those who still don't follow him nowadays, he still kind of has some radical ideas as an individual, but just the
Isn't
way
he
he
in the
was.
Big Three?
No, he's like a Republican politician out of Minnesota that tries to fight like Tim Walz all the time now. He's like he's kind of radical. That's all I'm going to say about that. I don't want to get any deeper into it than that, but just to that point, you've seen the teams that he kind of put together with the talent that he was able to scrape up well before there was ever a such thing called as the transfer portal. And the teams he was able to make. And I'm just kind of curious as to, what you think Nebraska's strategy will be this offseason here coming up.
Yeah, well, and I guess I have the answer to my question. It sounds like that Nebraska does not know who their point guard is going to be next year. So Hoiberg's certainly gonna need to go to work. I do want to put you guys on to one name. There's a guy named Uconn Johnson. He played at Bradley this past year. He was first team All Valley. He was a runner up for Player of the Year. He's 5'11", so he is on the shorter side, but he's almost 200 pounds. The dude's a freaking bowling ball. I think he's going to be probably if you just focus it within the Midwest, within the Midwest teams, he's probably going to be one of the top transfers within the Midwest, assuming he doesn't go outside the region. I think he's the guy that Fred Hoiberg should look at. He'll probably have some competition from Ben McCollum and maybe even Greg Gard up at Wisconsin, because he is from Milwaukee. But yeah, that's one name that I thought was interesting was Jaquan Johnson from Bradley. I got to see him tear up Drake a little bit this year. He's a hell of a player. He's probably more of a scoring point guard than a facilitating point guard, just because he's so athletic. But I think that's kind of the guy that you'd want to be looking for. Just looking at this transfer portal, guys who are in the portal right now, I think there's really no one else that's really sticking out to me right now, at least within kind of the top of the list right now. As far as all the transfers are concerned, Johnson is the number 12 overall prospect when it comes to transfers. Obviously, that will could change.
It's been pretty quiet so far on the transfer front right now. I'm kind of wondering
because it hasn't opened yet.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm kind of wondering if some guys are waiting to. When does it open? It opens after the championship game, right?
Yep. It opens the day after the championship game, and like college football, it is only open for 2 weeks. So and people get confused there. You can only enter the transfer portal for the first 2 weeks. It's not like there's this crazy NBA free agent like period where everyone has 2 weeks to sign. You have 2 weeks to enter the transfer portal. Then obviously you can do whatever. So yeah, they've done, and really that's just a rare credit to the NCAA that I'll give. They've done a little better job of, unlike college football, of not letting the offseason activities, the transfer portal, interfere with the current product by allowing these coaches to focus on their teams until the season's actually over with. So
right.
I give a credit to the NCAA of waiting until the day after the national championship game for the portal to actually open. Now, obviously, if you're confused, because guys are announcing their intentions to transfer, those guys can do that on their own. They're free to announce that. They don't actually enter the portal until the day after the championship game. So that's kind of why it's been a little quiet at this point. obviously the day right after the championship game, things will start to steam up, and we'll see where guys like Jaquan Johnson end up landing. But he's a guy that I'd like to see as a Cornhusker. Obviously, a guy that I'd like Iowa State to target, but I don't think the match is right there, considering what Iowa State needs.
Right.
Since Nebraska needs a point guard, I think Jaquan Johnson would be number one on my list.
Right on.
Yeah, I think I'm going to use your Iowa State comparison there at the end to kind of move us on to the final thing we really got to talk about tonight, and that is Iowa State falling to Tennessee in the Sweet 16 as well. This graphic basically says it all. You get a graphic at halftime, and we see this all the time in sports, and then once they lose, like, there's really no effort or thought going into the final post. I thought this was really poetic to kind of the end of the season and how things went. JT, I'm going to let you go ahead and lead. There's some other things I want to talk about this team about coming from the stance of like next year and what they look like. But for now, like, I'd like to focus all of our attention just kind of on this season before we move on to next year. And I want to hear what Bakes and Juice have to say as well about kind of how this tournament turned out.
Yeah, and really, it just all comes down to Jefferson. It just shows you, because really, I wasn't feeling too bad at half, because really that's kind of a similar score to what Iowa State was against Kentucky, and really it was kind of a similar situation where I felt like that Iowa State's half court offense was pretty good. That's one thing that I'll say. Iowa State's half court offense has been really, really improved during the postseason. Too much during the regular season. They were kind of a Houston-like team where really they could only rely on their offense from their defense, kind of that transition stuff. And, they would always have these dead spots in the season where they just couldn't get anything happening in the half court. So I think that Nate Schmidt does a lot with the offense. I give him and the rest of the coaching staff a lot of credit for getting that half court offense moving. It just that the shots weren't falling. The rebounding was obviously a big issue. You didn't have really any rebounders out there besides Buchanan. So I think
the thing is you can't play Plata and Buchanan at the same time.
Right. That's not going to work. Those guys aren't used to playing together, and obviously Jefferson's able to handle the ball. So yeah, that's what it comes down to for me. Is I think if they have Joshua Jefferson, they win this game. I think it's obviously we've seen what Michigan's done. I think we do get some peace of mind that the ceiling for this team, the absolute ceiling of this team, was always going to be an Elite Eight. I don't think there was ever really a chance at the Final Four. So that's kind of, it's one of those things where it's, the difference between a Sweet 16 and Elite Eight, very fleeting in the moment. Would have liked to have seen that Elite Eight banner go up, but it's just one of those things. There's just a lot. In general, a lot of those Big 10 or Big 12 teams just victim to key injuries, and ultimately that's I think I've said it a few times. We're all kind of a broken record on this. When you lose your consensus second team All-American, you're just not going to go as far in the tournament as you want. And if any Iowa fans try to mock the Elite Eight versus Sweet 16, ask if they would have made the Sweet 16 without Bennett Sturtz, who was a consensus honorable mention All-American. So Hawkeye fans can fuck off on that. So I don't really want to hear it. But yeah, it's just one of those things. Is Tennessee had just the elite size. One of those guys is going to be a top 10 pick in the NBA draft.
That's our Met, right?
I think it's our Met. Yeah,
I think our Met's the
Met.
Met.
He didn't have that great of a game like on the boards, but obviously he was pretty good scoring game. He's Met's probably the guy that Jefferson would have guarded had he been out there. And obviously I give Nate Heisey a lot of credit. He played really well. At sometimes he was the best player on the court. He matched Lipsy in points, and when your four-man is 6'5", it's going to be tough. And I give him a lot of credit. He he really gave it his all, and he had a few really nice moments. But it's just when you lose your best player, only so much you can do.
Yeah, it's I don't know. Coming into this game, I felt fairly confident they might be able to sneak it out, and then maybe there was a chance Jefferson could play on Sunday against Michigan. Come to find out after the game on Friday night that there was probably absolutely
No
no
shot.
chance he was going to play Friday night or Sunday if they were to happen to make it there. And based on the way he kind of laughed and said that, I don't think there was any chance he was going to play, even if they did happen to meet Michigan, if he was going to play in the Final Four. So I think that ankle is a lot worse than what we were initially led to believe. I mean, it looked horrible when we seen it. So, I mean, I'm not surprised it's as bad as it was.
Right. I think we were just trying to make ourselves. I think everybody knew how bad it was. We were just kind of wishful thinking, trying to be optimistic.
Absolutely.
I've seen some Iowa State fans like, "Oh, what'd you expect?" Or we obviously, it's just you wanna hope. So I don't fault
right. And it's a freak thing. I know. Obviously, it goes back to the Niang ankle injury or the broken foot. Excuse me. Back in what was that? 2014. With a team that very well could have also made the Final Four, also happened to be in the United Center when that same injury occurred. So there's been kind of a feel of a curse going around. I don't know if that's necessarily what it is. I think it's just kind of one of those freak things that happens. I know I did hear during the broadcast that they're now 1-7 in Sweet 16 games. And that is they're basically, the way I look at it, they're kind of like they're kind of like a mini Purdue. Purdue's biggest downfall is they can't win a championship, but they always make Elite Eights and Final Fours and Sweet 16s. Iowa State's biggest downfall is that they can't get past the Sweet 16 or the round of 32 most seasons. And granted that history only goes back about 12 years because JT, you and I both will remember that they were not very good there for about 10 to 12 years. But back to the main point, I think I don't know, something felt off at halftime. The fact they were only down 1, it felt like it was a miracle. The offensive rebound was obviously their biggest downfall of the night. There was multiple possessions where Tennessee had 2 or 3 rebounds at a time. Momcilovic obviously going 2 for 8 from 3, having a defender stitched to his jersey more or less, almost the entire night.
Low key, huge thing of how they were able to shut down Momcilovic.
I mean, yeah, because basically you say, okay, we're not going to play 5-on-5. We're going to play 4-on-4, and we're going to take away the most. It's official with their season coming to an end. He broke Kyle Korver's Creighton record for the highest percentage of 3-pointers in NCAA history, finishing at like 49.4%. So, I mean, you take out the best shooter in the game, you play 4-on-4, and you're basically looking at 2 freshmen, a senior point guard that isn't really known for shooting, and a center that's not really known for spreading the floor out. And you kind of end up in the situation you are. But like you said, it's not all bad because you probably would have lost by 50 to Michigan today. So. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Bakes and kind of get your reaction to that.
Yeah, when I was watching the game, I seen Momcilovic 1 for 5. Like you said, he finished 2 for 8 from 3. That was a little shocking. This was his moment to really kind of set himself up for the draft to be a late first or early second round pick.
Speaking of which, I don't mean to cut you off, but he did declare
Nice.
today for the
Nice.
NBA.
Nice. But just imagine if he went, 3 for 8, you know,
Yep.
it would have looked a lot better. It seemed like he was not necessarily forcing it, but it just wasn't his night. And he really showed up all season long. Well, I would say beginning part of the season, he showed a little struggles and then he shook it off, and it's like he was wearing a cape out there. He was able to do some very, very cool things and really kind of put you guys in position, really show his shooting stroke, just show the world that he belongs here and that he's ready to take over games. Um, Jefferson being injured, I know that was a huge blow to you guys. When you guys played the game that he got injured in, you guys finished up, what I'm saying? You guys put your
Yeah.
tie on, what I'm saying? Put the cufflinks on and y'all went out there and styled. So I thought, like, regardless of Jefferson playing or not, you guys had the right stuff. It's just unfortunate to see you guys go out like that. You guys had one hell of a season. You guys are well coached. I think you guys are also missing a freakish athlete as well out there, someone who's going to go get rebounds and dunk on people, because I think every team in the nation just needs that player, needs that Dwight Howard. You know what I mean? We don't necessarily need you to be shooting shots. I need you to fucking clean the glass. I need you to grab them boards. I need you to dunk on everybody. That's what. That's literally what you guys missed in that game. Really, just all season long. If you guys had that, you guys would be so dangerous. It's disgusting. Uh, I'll give you guys all the props in the world. You are all like our teams had hell of a runs this year, and I couldn't be more proud of that.
I mean,
Yeah,
when I
Juice.
look at
Yeah. What do you got on that?
it's like we all eat macaroni. Um, y'all was like Kraft macaroni, man. Y'all had flavor, but y'all didn't have no season. And I think that's what was the big thing. Like, I think really for all three of our teams, like, we didn't have any athletes. Like, all three of the teams needed a couple brothers on the team, man. Like, just some people who can jump out the gym, got some athleticism, got some wingspan. And I think that's why we all fizzled out in the tournament. Like, nobody had that Dennis Rodman, Dwight Howard. Like, I joke with my dude at work, and I be like, man, they got too many light skinned cats out there. They need some Draymond Greens. And when I say that, I mean, like, you need somebody who's gonna be that anchor, that leader, somebody who don't care about, hey man, if this dude get out of line, I'm gonna choke him like a Popeye's biscuit. Like, you need somebody to bring that flavor. If you eat Kraft macaroni and you just put salt and pepper on it, you're not living your best life. Y'all were flavor with no seasoning. Y'all just
Yeah,
needed
you
a player two to come
a
in
little bit
there
of
and
Larry's, a little bit of Larry's.
They
yeah,
need
it was
another Dustin. Everybody needs a little Dustin Hogan in their life.
Yeah.
and it's like y'all, all of our teams play fundamentally sound. We play the game the right way. There's flavor and no seasoning, man. If you make a pot roast and you only put salt and pepper on it, it's not gonna be a great pot roast. You got to get in the cabinet. You got to put some seasoning on that. Like, we had, it was like a mayonnaise sandwich. Go get the pastrami. There's no pastrami, no bread, no water, just meat. You got to have meaty dudes out there to go out there, grab some rebounds, put some people around, make the game more physical. None of our teams had that, and I feel like that's why we kind of stifled out. To my boy Mount Chili, I'm excited for him. I can't wait to see him in the league this year. But yeah, man, like, I think a lot of the teams, like, you look at Tennessee, they just had a little more season, and that's what happened. Like, you gotta have that athletic person who can jump out the gym, or that guy who just gobbles up rebounds, or blocker. Like, look at the NBA with Wemby. Wemby is an anomaly because we've never seen somebody that big who's that
Right.
skilled.
That man is
You
cheating.
big and skilled. Like, when all your dudes is like average height, how far is you gonna go in the tournament?
Yeah, the one thing I want to bring up with Momchilovich, it says he is declaring for the NBA draft, but there is a clear kind of
more, more
thing
of an
put out there.
evaluation type of deal.
Yeah,
Yes.
he's going out to get evaluated to see exactly what he needs to work on. And from what I have read, this was always going to be the plan coming into the end of this year. So the fact that it came out this quick lets me know that Otzelberger fully supports this decision. And if it turns out that he, could be a late first round draft pick, I don't think he will. I think he's really going to take a hit for the way that he kind of ended the season again this year. Granted, I know he shot 49% from three, but I think kind of going 2 for 8 in a game where the other best player, and let's be honest with ourselves here. He's not going to go to the NBA and average 30 points a game. He's going to be a guy that you're looking for 12 to 15 out of. Maybe
he's
gets
gonna
hot.
he's gonna be a Doug McDermott type. He's gonna be a journeyman. He's gonna go from team to team. He's
Yeah,
gonna be knocking down threes.
yeah.
And
He'll
he's
be a
gonna keep
George
yeah,
Niang type player, more or less.
yeah.
So they're just trying to figure out what he absolutely needs to do to elevate his game. He could easily make way more money coming back to Iowa State next year than he could in any sort of NBA contract, even if he goes in the first round right now. So I think
Most
this
definitely.
is purely for an evaluation standpoint to figure out, what can he do in one more year to maximize his ceiling, because at this point, if he even goes 45% again from three, if you were to come back next year, I think he's automatically probably a top 15, top 20 pick.
Well, that's another thing about, with the NIL, like talent is so spread out. Like I was watching the Nets game earlier and they got a dude that they got in the second round. I think he's leading all rookies in double doubles. And that's a second round
Interesting.
player. How many second round players do you get that level of production from? But I think it's just the talent is so spread out. Like we're at a point in the league where talent is gonna find a way, and they're about to get 2 expansion teams coming out. So there's gonna be a lot more room for a lot more talent to go out there and showcase themselves on the NBA level. So
Absolutely.
for the young man, I hope that everything works out, and I hope to see him playing in the NBA jersey next year because he deserves it. He seems like a great kid. He's a very hard worker. And I think at the end of the day, I don't think it's going to take, one game in the tournament, as far as his body of work he has created throughout his career, as far as his NBA draft stock.
JT Bakes, do you
Yeah.
guys have anything you want to add on to that?
No, I think it's a complete nothing burger that's being announced. I think he'll be back next year, and looking forward to him making a next step his senior year.
Well, yeah, I would like to talk about like kind of the narrative that you were spinning there, Slam, as far as like witness protection. I remember when Jalen Brown, I'm not trying to compare their like athleticism, but just like, a big time college player having a terrible game in the tournament and still being able to go to the pros and really, really, really show like who you truly are. You know what I mean? Because when Kyle was in there with Jalen Brown and he had a terrible game and they got booted, and he went to the pros and he's been very, very productive. He's a leader of the Celtics. So I think it's what you want it to be. And to me, he's a gamer. He's a ball player.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
I think he'll bounce back no matter if he's back at Iowa State next year or in the league. So
Yeah, no, and to your point, I think this year was actually the first year that he kind of has a legitimate reason to kind of shoot the way he did. Like I kind of mentioned, he had basically a defender face guarding him the entire game. The fact that he was able, he maybe got 3 or 4 open looks. I know he missed 2 of them, made at least 2 threes in that game, but for about 20-25 minutes on the court, he couldn't get any sort of separation between me and the table, basically. So in years past he's kind of disappeared, but this year, teams are really trying to figure him out, and that's really even more credit to him for how much he's made himself a part of the game plan that teams are accounting for him to basically play 4-on-4 rather than 5-on-5 and go to a zone or something like that. So it's not a slight by any means. It's, if anything, it's a credit to the way he's able to move. And if you watch him enough, he just moves so nonchalantly across the court sometimes. Like it's easy to see why teams kind of fall asleep on him. I think if he has the opportunity to jump to the pros, I would take it. But I'm with JT on this. I think it's a complete nothing burger. I think he comes back for one more year. And if I'm Iowa State, I'm dumping as much money into his stock as I can to essentially be your senior leader, because you're kind of losing all your senior leaders right now. I think if he comes back next year with Bateman, Torre, Plata, Buchanan, I think that group of five, along with maybe a couple incoming transfers, could potentially be a huge game changer for the team. And I don't think you see much fall off in production if that's the way that the team runs next year. If they can find a really good, maybe power forward from a small school. And I guarantee you, as of March 29th, TJ Otzelberger already has the guy in mind that he wants to come in and operate in that power forward spot next year. I wouldn't be surprised if they've already kind of sent out some feelers to who they're targeting.
Yeah, I think Mount Chili be back. I think he's got unfinished business. I think pretty much everybody who can come back from these three teams will come back next year, because when you get a taste of the tournament and you weren't really expected to be there, I would feel like it would give you kind of an addiction to want to go back and to want to try harder and be motivated to get back there. So I think if he comes back, it'll be a good asset for the team. I can't see him leaving unless he's like guaranteed to be a first round pick. But there's nothing wrong with going there and letting them evaluate your game and
Yep.
telling you your strengths and weaknesses so you can fix those and go back in the draft this year. And like you said, he'll probably be a top 10, top 15 pick.
Well, the last thing I want to say about this before I toss it off somebody else is the biggest knock on him going into last offseason was that he didn't seek his own shot, and he was kind of passive aggressive at times. And, he would kind of disappear in certain games or big moments. Well, what does he do when he comes back the following year? He ups his point production by almost 8 points a game. He sets the NCAA record for highest 3-point shooting percentage ever. I think the last time I looked, he was maybe in 30th or 25th for most 3-pointers in a single season. And he has blown almost every efficiency chart to oblivion with the way he played this year. So he's clearly one that can respond to the call, especially with the way, TJ kind of said that at the end of last year. So he's already made a giant leap from last year to this year. If he does come back, it will be interesting to see how much bigger that leap he can make could be.
Yeah, I see a lot of growth in him over the years. I remember when he just had a couple crafty layups and a turnaround jumper, and that was like all you saw from him. For him to evolve his game the way he did and kind of raise the level of competition and kind of believing in his shot and really putting that ball on the floor and showing his stuff, I honestly feel like he's improved greatly, and it was really good to see him grow, because I remember that first turnaround jumper he swished when we were at that game, Slim, and I was like, this dude is a baller.
Yep.
I was like, this dude is the only pro on the team that year,
and he was a freshman.
Yeah, and I was like, this dude has the potential to go to the pros. Like, just the way that he was shooting the ball, I don't know. I thought it was amazing to watch.
Yeah, JT, remember he hit that turnaround fadeaway against, I believe it was number 2 Houston in Ames to win that game, and then he had a buzzer beater called off in Baylor because he released the ball like a tenth of a second too late, but he hit some crazy turnaround, like step through 3-pointer that would have won them a game against Baylor. I believe they were undefeated at the time of that game.
Yeah, that's right. That's a good call.
But yeah, he's clearly a gamer. Well, we saw it on full display against Arizona going down the stretch in the conference tournament this year. Just relentless shot making.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes, sir.
Well, I know we're getting close here to our tap out time. Bakes, I don't know if you want to hit sponsors one more time here real quick before we get out of here.
Well, I think we should just let it play and throw the sponsors in there. How about that?
Well,
The show. Oh, okay. Well, however,
yeah,
we'll do it your way.
I was gonna say I'll give a shout out real quick to Hybrid Promotions, Self-Made the Label Music, and OTT Records. We appreciate you guys for sponsoring the show. We couldn't do this without your support. For anyone that follows us, you can always check out Self-Made the Label hybrid.com to figure out when you're going to come out to our next show, as well as see some old pictures, videos, get some new merch, anything like that. Once again, you can always like and subscribe. Help us grow a little bit. Other than that, if somebody wants to bring us home, I seem to be struggling right now for some reason. I think I'm having a stroke.
Go ahead, Uncle Juice. Go ahead, close us out tonight.
And we want to thank everybody for watching the show tonight. Thank you for Bakes and Hybrid Promotions, Self-Made the Label. Get your tickets for Glizzy Fest. Thank you for tuning in with us, and everybody just have a wonderful evening.
Peace.
All right.
All right, y'all have a good night.